If you're tired of noisy online games and want something to enjoy on your own time, this list is for you. We've gathered 21 recently released single-player games that deliver rich worlds, sharp gameplay, and stories that truly captivate. From RPGs, action, and strategy to horror, and even a bonus for those who like something off the beaten path. The focus here is on quality, immersion, and that feeling that your money was well spent. So, let's discover the recent games worth every penny. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. If you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd be really happy, from one gamer to another. Let's get started. Not every remake is just about nostalgia. Some seem made to fix the passage of time. Oblivion Remastered is exactly that. A new chance to relive one of the most iconic adventures in RPG history, now with graphics and systems worthy of the new generation. The world resurfaces with updated visuals, reworked lighting, and an atmosphere that remains immersive even after all these years. The original game was already massive. Now, with current technology, it's even more immersive. Beyond the updated aesthetics, the remaster brings improvements in interface, performance, and quality of life, adjustments that fans have been asking for over a decade. But Oblivion was never just about looks. The heart of the game lies in total freedom. Follow the main quest, infiltrate guilds, become a vampire, or simply live in an isolated cabin. It's the kind of RPG that rewards you for following your own path, and that remains intact here. More than just a treat for veterans, Oblivion Remastered is the perfect entry point for new players. It's a reminder that great worlds don't age, they just wait for the right moment to come back. If you've never saved this world before, this is the perfect excuse to finally do so. Speed, brutality, and tons of neon. KIBORG is a third-person shooter with a sci-fi aesthetic and a frenzied pace. Where you don't walk, you rocket across the battlefield like a missile with legs. Set in a twisted, decadent future, the game puts you in control of cyborgs with superhuman abilities fighting off an alien invasion. Every move is tactical, and every second counts. It's action choreographed with surgical precision. The combat is the big standout. Fast, violent, and visually stunning. You can slide, dodge, attack with futuristic weapons, and use abilities that change the dynamics of the battlefield. The inspiration from Doom, Vanquish, and Ultra Kill is clear, but KIBORG creates its own identity by mixing chaos with style. Everything here has weight, impact, and that just one more match factor. Ideal for those who want pure adrenaline. Even amidst the chaos, the game brings narrative and atmosphere with personality. The gritty aesthetic, dystopian settings, and intense soundtrack create a unique vibe. KIBORG doesn't want to be realistic, it wants to be memorable. And if it delivers on its promise, it could become one of the most cult games of the new generation. A true ode to stylized violence and good old-fashioned direct combat. Inspired by 80s and 90s sci-fi anime, Stories from Soul the Gundog delivers an experience that blends visual storytelling, military drama, and space setting with its own personality. You play as a young pilot aboard the Gundog ship, in the midst of an interplanetary Cold War filled with conspiracies, fragile loyalties, and difficult choices. The retro-futuristic visuals and detailed art direction transport you straight to an era where pixel art and sci-fi walked hand in hand. The focus of the game is on story and dense dialogue, with well-written characters and choices that affect the course of events. It's not a game for frantic action. It's about tension, politics, and identity, all wrapped in a charming and well-executed aesthetic. The soundtrack accentuates the dramatic moments, and the silences carry narrative weight. It's a game that demands attention and rewards those who immerse themselves in its atmosphere. Stories from Soul proves that there's still space for slow, text-based, and deeply human experiences amidst so many loud games. It doesn't rush, it doesn't bend to the fast-paced rhythm of the industry, and that's exactly why it stands out. It's like watching a good animated series in playable format, with a crew you learn to know and respect. A sci-fi with soul, full of layers and great conversations between shots. Classics are classics, but Commandos Origins shows that even veterans can come back with fresh vigor. The franchise that defined the real-time tactical genre returns to its roots with a renewed visual style, while maintaining the essence that made the original games so beloved. Here, you follow the origin of elite soldiers on World War II missions full of tension, strategy, and precision. It's the kind of game that doesn't forgive haste. Every move must be calculated. The action takes place in a paused, almost surgical manner, Positioning a character correctly, distracting a guard, timing movements, everything has an immediate consequence. The team consists of specialists, shooters, saboteurs, infiltrators, and knowing how to use each of them is the heart of the experience. The clean visuals and detailed environments make each mission even more engaging. It's tactical, challenging, and, above all, rewarding when it works. Commandos serves as both an entry point for new players and a nostalgic celebration for those who played the classics. It doesn't try to reinvent the wheel, it refines what's always worked. And it does that with respect for the series' legacy. If you like to think before you act and prefer a well-executed mission over a meaningless explosion, this is a solid choice. Some stories don't need haste, just time to breathe. Amerzone, the Explorer's Legacy, is a faithful remake of a 90s classic, now with modern graphics and much more sensory immersion. You take on the role of a young journalist who, after visiting an old, dying explorer, finds himself involved in an unfinished mission deep in a fictional country full of legends, forgotten ruins, and exotic wildlife. It's exploration with a touch of poetry. The pace is slow, almost meditative. No gunfights or mindless action. Here, the focus is on setting, narrative, and discovery. The journey involves environmental puzzles, interactions with fictional cultures, and a reconstruction of a past filled with guilt and broken promises. The soundtrack and sound effects help immerse you in this world, and every location feels laden with meaning. It's a game that asks for attention and returns beauty. Amerzone doesn't try to compete with blockbusters. It offers something different, an introspective journey. The experience is more like flipping through an old diary than playing a modern game. And that's what makes it special. The slow rhythm, the captivating soundtrack, and the mysterious environments create a rare type of emotional immersion. For those looking for a break from chaos and wanting to lose themselves in a sensitive and detailed story, this is a hidden gem among the big releases. Minimalist on the outside, complex on the inside. Bionic Bay is a sci-fi platformer with innovative mechanics and a silently disturbing atmosphere. You control an agile character in a world that seems to have been abandoned by logic, where physics is as important as reflexes. The aesthetic is clean, with cold colors and strange, almost alien mechanical structures. Nothing is explained directly. You learn by observing, testing, and failing. The highlight is the movement system and object manipulation. Using a kind of position swap, the character can switch with blocks and elements of the environment, creating creative navigation possibilities. This turns the challenges into dynamic puzzles where speed and reasoning go hand in hand. The learning curve is clear, and mastering the controls becomes part of the fun. Everything is fluid, strange, and addictive. Bionic Bay bets on mystery and strangeness as driving forces for curiosity. There are no long dialogues or hand-fed plot lines, just dense atmosphere and progression that rewards attention to detail. The feeling of being in a cold, mechanical, indifferent world only grows over time. And when you find yourself flawlessly flowing between platforms, you realize that the game didn't just challenge your skill, it taught you to play its way. When the world is doomed by a prophecy that erases one person every year, survival becomes a race against time and fate. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 presents a surreal universe where art and death coexist in breathtaking landscapes. The art direction is one of the most impressive in recent years, blending classic oil painting strokes with bizarre environments and dreamlike creatures. It's a turn-based RPG that feels like it comes straight out of a distorted gallery. Combat stands out for stepping away from the conventional. Instead of static commands, every action requires active skill dodging, aiming, hitting at the exact moment. This blend of turn-based mechanics with action elements gives each battle weight and urgency. The party consists of unique characters with deep stories and motivations that directly affect the world around them. The pace is emotional, sometimes melancholic, but always engaging. You feel the weight of every decision. Clair Obscur isn't just another pretty RPG. It's an experience marked by atmosphere and the elegant absurdity of its universe. Every scenario visited feels like a painting that's come to life. The narrative mixes symbolism, philosophy, and brutality without fear of discomfort. It's a game that challenges both your skill and your sensitivity. And after each intense combat or dialogue, you don't leave unscathed. You leave transformed. BLEACH Rebirth of Souls dives deep into the anime universe with intense battles and a visual style true to the original work. The game captures the weight of the confrontations between Shinigamis, Arankars, and Hollows, putting the most iconic characters of the series in impact-filled fights. Every blow carries a signature. Every transformation is marked by dramatic effects and bursts of energy. It's pure action, with a total focus on stylized combat. Fights take place in open arenas, with free movement and a great emphasis on special abilities. The combat system prioritizes reading your opponent and reaction time, but also allows for flashy combos and cinematic finishes. There's a clear effort to preserve the anime's style without neglecting gameplay. Playing with Ichigo, Rukia, or Kenpachi isn't just about fan service. It's about landing the right attack at the right moment. Rebirth of Souls manages to deliver combat with soul. It hits the rhythm and scale of the duels perfectly, bringing back the sense of danger that always accompanied battles in Bleach. Whether in solo mode or facing other players, each confrontation clearly shows the strength and weight of the characters. For fans of the series, or anyone looking for a visually impactful fighting game, this one doesn't disappoint. South of Midnight bets on southern folklore, dark magic, and an eye-catching artistic style. Set in the southern United States, the game presents a protagonist facing mythical creatures and living legends in a land marked by trauma, traditions, and ancient secrets. The visual style is like a moving painting, with hand-drawn textures and a palette that blends the real and the fantastic with a lot of personality. Every scene feels loaded with stories that came before you. The narrative follows a slow pace, full of symbolism. Instead of constant battles or frantic challenges, the game focuses on atmosphere, meaningful conversations, and events that gradually reveal what lies beneath the surface. The soundtrack blends blues with supernatural elements, enhancing the mystical atmosphere. Everything on screen carries clear visual and narrative weight. The focus is on creating a living, strange world that's hard to forget. South of Midnight stands out by embracing the unusual. It doesn't try to follow ready-made formulas, and because of that, it becomes memorable. It's a game that values the journey more than the destination, and it does so with a bold visual style and a vibe that blends beauty and discomfort. For those who enjoy games with a strong identity and a notable sense of place, this one claims its territory from the very first minutes. Set in 19th century Japan, during the fall of the shogunate and the arrival of the West, Rise of the Ronin places you in the midst of a divided country, in transformation and full of conflict. The game combines open-world exploration with precision-based melee combat, focusing on posture and reading the enemy. You play as a masterless samurai, free to choose sides, allies, and enemies as the story unfolds. Nothing here is entirely right or wrong. The combat is the standout fluid, technical, and brutal. The swords feel heavy, the strikes are fast, and any mistake can cost you dearly. In addition to direct combat, there are period firearms and infiltration tools, providing more freedom for the player. The choice system impacts the world around you, shaping both the political and personal narrative. The map is dense, with cities, villages, and battlefields where every corner could hide allies or threats. Rise of the Ronin delivers a Japan in turmoil, where tradition and modernity collide at every corner. The freedom to decide how to act and with whom to align adds depth to the game without sacrificing action. It's a journey about honor, survival, and identity in a time when old codes are dying. The environment isn't just a backdrop. It influences the choices, combat, and consequences. And between swords, gunpowder, and moral dilemmas, it's up to you to carve your own path through the chaos. After years of fan requests, Assassin's Creed Shadows finally takes the franchise to feudal Japan. And it does so with more than just a setting. It introduces two distinct protagonists, each with complementary combat styles and intertwined narratives. On one side, Yasuke, the direct and powerful samurai. On the other, Neo, the stealthy and lethal shinobi. Switching between them offers variety in pace, approach, and perspective within the same world. The map is vast and rich in historical details, with castles, villages, forests, and fields that change with the seasons. The stealth system has been refined, with dynamic shadows, realistic lighting, and more options for silent approaches. Combat, on the other hand, is denser and more technical, especially with Yasuke. Side missions, espionage, and loyalty conflicts add depth to the journey without abandoning the core DNA of the series. Shadows retains what the series does well, but takes firm steps forward. The duality between the protagonists isn't just mechanical. It broadens the perspective on the period and the conflicts at play. Each city visited, each mission completed, helps build a narrative where action and historical context go hand in hand. The mix of stealth and brute force brings balance to the gameplay without disrupting the rhythm. It's a new phase for Assassin's Creed, respecting its roots while not afraid to experiment. The first Berserker Khazan doesn't ask for subtlety, it demands strength. You control Khazan, a warrior fallen from grace, seeking redemption in a brutal world dominated by monsters, black magic, and corruption. The aesthetic is dark and heavy, with visuals resembling a violent graphic novel. Every fight is a sequence of harsh strikes, precise dodges, and brutal finishers. Nothing here is light, neither the story nor the gameplay. The combat system stands out for its aggressive rhythm and precise response. It's a game that rewards quick reflexes and knowledge of the enemy, but also allows for improvisation and pure fury. Khazan's abilities evolve organically, reflecting his growth and his battle with the past. The bosses are intense, with varied attack patterns and memorable arenas. The impact of each hit is constant and satisfying. Khazan delivers raw action without sacrificing style. The narrative is direct, yet full of weight, and the world is designed with attention to detail, from blood on the walls to light escaping through dark cracks. Everything revolves around violence as a means of overcoming. If you like games where brute force has consequences, this one doesn't hold back on either challenge or visual brutality. Here, combat is art, and rage is fuel. If you think racing is just about speed, Wreckfest 2 will remind you that destruction is also a way to win. The game takes the chaos on wheels to the next level, with crazy tracks, collisions that smash cars one by one, and a damage system more detailed than ever. Here, it's not enough to finish first. You have to survive to the finish line. And surviving, in this case, means running over, being run over, and laughing in the process. The visuals are more polished, but the spirit remains dirty, loud, and fun. The game modes vary between traditional races and total destruction arenas, where the goal is to be the last vehicle standing on the map. The physics remains realistic enough to cause impact, but exaggerated just enough to make everything more fun. Every poorly made turn, every miscalculated jump becomes a story, and every car could be a ticking time bomb. Wreckfest 2 doesn't try to seem serious, and that's exactly what makes it so good. It understands that driving at high speed with 15 disloyal opponents in tight tracks is, in itself, pure adrenaline. The game rewards boldness, recklessness, and a sense of humor. If you like losing control on purpose just to see what happens, this is your playground. Here, crashing is part of the race and the fun. AI limit dives into a distorted future where civilization has fallen and survival depends on a new form of humanity. You control Orisa, a synthetic warrior facing mutated creatures in a ruined city, marked by forgotten technology and echoes of a dark past. The visual style blends dirty neon with collapsed architecture, creating a decadent yet vibrant world. It's a setting where every corner seems to hide a threat or a secret. The combat is direct, fluid, and focused on precision. Quick attacks, well-timed dodges, and special abilities form the heart of the gameplay. It's reminiscent of a Souls-like style, but with more mobility and a touch of modern Japanese action. There are elements of customization, evolution, and exploration that give rhythm to progress. Enemies are challenging and varied, with bosses requiring attention and patience. Every victory is hard-earned. AI Limit delivers intense action without sacrificing atmosphere. The world feels broken, yet alive, with details that tell stories even without words. Orisa's journey mixes melancholy and resistance, with a memorable soundtrack and art direction that grabs your attention with each new area. It's a game for those who enjoy demanding combat, but also want to walk through ruins that tell more than the plot itself. A fragmented but fascinating future. Tempest Rising revives the spirit of classic real-time strategy with a modern aesthetic and explosive combat. The game draws straight from Command & Conquer, delivering symmetrical maps, base building, resource gathering, and fast-paced tactical battles. Two main factions, with distinct visuals, units, and strategies, face off in a technological war scenario, where every second counts. It's strategy with a taste of nostalgia and quick responses. The visuals are clean, functional, and vibrant. Each unit has a clear identity, and the sound effect help give weight to decisions on the battlefield. The solo campaigns are well-structured, with varied objectives and progressively more complex scenarios. There's also support for skirmishes and competitive multiplayer, keeping the tradition of strategic duels alive. The game invites you to think fast, adapt, and, above all, react better than the enemy. Tempest Rising doesn't try to reinvent the genre. It respects it and brings it back with vigor. It's made for those who miss the tension of watching a base being invaded and having to turn the tables with limited resources. Every click matters, every lost unit weighs, and every victory tastes like tactical triumph. In a market dominated by cinematic blockbusters, this game shows that classic strategy still has its guaranteed place. In a world where light has been forgotten and the supernatural rules with cold hands, Mandragora Whispers of the Witch Tree builds a dark universe that blends dark fantasy with 2.5D side-scrolling action. The setting recalls distorted folk tales, with decaying villages, cursed forests, and grotesque creatures that seem straight out of medieval nightmares. The tone is heavy but visually beautiful, with art direction using shadows and light to create constant tension. The combat is technical and relentless, focusing on reading enemies and using skills with precision. Boss fights demand observation, patience, and mastery of your character. There are also progression systems, crafting, and narrative choices that affect future events. The pace is steady, with no rush, allowing each area to be explored carefully. The dialogues are filled with mystery, and nearly everything in the game hides an extra layer. Mandragora stands out by not treating the player with condescension. It challenges, scares, and provokes at the same time. The journey is marked by tough defeats and small victories that feel earned by force. The setting doesn't just serve as a backdrop. It interferes with the battles, encounters, and the silence between one fight and the next. It's a game that forces you to pay attention, because any slip-up could mean the end. Inspired by real events, such as the Windscale nuclear disaster, Atomfall builds an alternate version of 1950s rural England, consumed by paranoia, radiation, and uncomfortable silence. You travel empty roads, isolated villages, and abandoned military installations, trying to understand what happened and what's still to come. The setting blends science fiction with psychological horror, where the greatest danger isn't always visible. Everything feels out of place, as if the world broke in silence. Exploration is the focus, with a strong environmental narrative and clues scattered in objects, documents, and fragmented dialogues. There are light survival and combat mechanics, but the pace leans more toward investigation than direct action. The remaining characters live under constant tension, and each encounter could either help or trap you. The ambient sound and subtle soundtrack contribute to a dense sense of isolation, where uncertainty dominates. Atomfall doesn't use fear as spectacle, but as a constant presence. The threat is in the air, in the distant noises, in the way people look at you, or avoid looking. The game places you as a stranger in a traumatized land, ensuring you never feel comfortable. It's a journey of contained tension, where each advancement feels earned amidst a disaster that still pulses. Nothing here is safe. Nothing is normal. inZOI is the kind of life simulator that tries to elevate everything to the extreme visuals, details, and freedom of action. The game puts you in control of a living city, with NPCs that have routines, emotions, and complex interactions, all rendered with top-tier graphics. The proposition goes beyond just building houses and managing characters. Here, you model entire neighborhoods, define behaviors, and watch society form before your eyes. It's a social sandbox with aesthetic ambition. The interface is intuitive and powerful, allowing fine adjustments to environments, people, and even event logic. Want to create a chaotic neighborhood and see how the inhabitants react? Done. Want to simulate a perfect city but without free will? It's possible. The editing tools are robust, allowing for limitless creativity and experimentation. Everything that happens in the game seems to have a reason, even when it spirals out of control. The game stands out for placing the player in the role of both observer and manipulator. It's not just about interacting with characters, but understanding the social dynamics that arise from what you've built. The visual beauty grabs your attention right away, but what truly hooks you is seeing that virtual city come to life unpredictably. And if something goes wrong, chaos is part of the charm. After all, playing God means dealing with the consequences. Forget heroes armed to the teeth. Into the Dead Our Darkest Days puts you in control of civilians trying to survive a zombie apocalypse on the streets of a collapsing Texan town. It's a more raw and human approach, where every resource matters and every decision carries weight. The 2.5D visuals with a side-scrolling camera bring a tense perspective, where every corner could hide a deadly ambush. And you're not just playing to survive, you're playing for dignity amidst the chaos. The pace is slow, methodical, and leans more toward drama than wild action. You must gather a group, care for each character's physical and mental state, and decide when to fight or flee. Exploration, crafting, and stealth are key elements. As the story progresses, the group faces heavy moral dilemmas, and the threat doesn't only come from the dead, but from other desperate humans. The emotional weight is constant and real. Our Darkest Day succeeds by treating the apocalypse seriously. It doesn't glamorize destruction. It shows the flaws, fears, and limits of ordinary people in extreme situations. The terror is more psychological than visual, and the tension comes from doubt: risk it for supplies or protect the little you have left. The silence between one fight and another speaks as loudly as the screams. And surviving, in this case, means much more than just not dying. Monster Hunter Wilds expands everything the series already does well, and it does so in an even more alive, dynamic world full of surprises. The environments are vast, with ecosystems that react to the weather, time of day, and the presence of hunters. The monsters are not just obstacles, they're creatures with their own behaviors, fighting each other, migrating, hunting, and even fleeing. The sensation is of invading a world that doesn't revolve around you, and that won't stop for your sake. Combat remains at the center of the action, with heavy weapons, elaborate combos, and that old feeling of accomplishment with each successful hunt. But now, the open environments offer new approaches: ambushes, chases, and sudden weather changes that affect strategy. There are also new movement and support tools, making the battle flow more varied. It's challenging, but fair. Each monster defeated is a lesson in adaptation. Wild shows that the Monster Hunter formula still has room to grow without losing its identity. It delivers colossal fights in stunning landscapes, but also moments of calm, where observing the world is as rewarding as dominating it. You feel the weight of each weapon, the true size of each enemy, and the importance of working as a team. It's the jungle at its purest, and you, another beast, try to master the territory. Split Fiction comes in as a bonus, not fully single player, but with enough style to not be overlooked. The game grabs your attention immediately with its bold visual style, a mix of comics, glitch art, and saturated colors that seem to explode on screen. But the style isn't just aesthetics, it's part of the narrative proposition. The game alternates between genres, mechanics, and characters in a fragmented structure, where each piece of the story offers a different perspective. Nothing is linear, and the pace is guided by controlled chaos. The gameplay shifts with each chapter, from third-person action to environmental puzzles, from interactive dialogues to stylized combat. This constant breaking of format can be confusing, but also captivating. Each segment has its own rules, and the player needs to adapt constantly. The narrative is chaotic, full of layers, but carefully constructed. Slowly, everything begins to make sense, or at least seem like it does. Split Fiction doesn't appeal to those looking for easy answers or a classic structure. It's a game for those who like to be provoked, to piece together loose ends and draw their own conclusions. It blends aesthetics and mechanics as if they were part of the same language, without separating form and content. Everything feels unstable, and that's intentional. Even though it veers from the traditional single-player line, it delivers something worth checking out. And tell me, which of these games have you had the chance to play? Did any catch your curiosity, and would you add them to your list of upcoming games? We'd love to know which one caught your attention the most. Feel free to share in the comments any game that would have fit perfectly in the list, but got left out. If you can, please subscribe to the channel to help me grow and never be in doubt about what to play again. I've left 2 videos in the card, one I picked for you and another that YouTube chose. Just click on either one to watch. Big hug, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow.